The 2026 NFL Draft is just a couple of days away, and while everyone has eyes on day one, I will be having my eyes on some of these day two and day three prospects who I believe could be hidden gems in the 2026 draft. So in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 of those guys, 8 hidden gems in the 26 NFL Draft. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new. Let's get into it. And we are going to begin at number 8 with Dejon Stribling. These are in no particular order. I just think it's easier if you just go 1 to 8. Dejon Stribling brings a lot to the table. Like, I mean it, a lot to the table. 6'2", 207 pounds, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, 2.54 20-yard split, 1.53 10-yard split, which is great. Had a vertical jump of 36 and a broad jump of 10'7". He is the athletic package, right? You got a good sized individual with elite athletic traits, and I think he brings a lot to the table as a vertical threat down the field. When you give him some space to operate, he does a lot of things and a lot of damage down the field. I think he is a plus in the run game. I think as a run blocker, he's really good. I think with the ball in his hands, yards after catch wise, he's impressive as well. I think for somebody who is like as well put together as he is, 6 foot, over 6 foot, over 200 pounds, I think he can struggle to handle physical DBs at times, which is a little bit confusing because again, you're talking about a 6'2", 200-pound man who almost plays a little bit softer than what you like. Like, he's not a contested catch guy, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but he's not going to win a ton of contested catches because DBs can put their hands on him. They can cut off his balance and make it kind of difficult for him to get up there and use that catch radius. He's also an older prospect too. He's been in college football since 2021 and has also been to 3 different schools. I think Washington State, Oklahoma State, and then of course this past year at Ole Miss. But I think what he does well, like better than a lot of people in this year's draft class, is when teams aren't getting handsy with him, when teams aren't playing him physical, and he's able to run routes at his own pace, he's able to do things to his own liking, specifically against, soft man or zone coverages. I think that's really where he excels because he's a really reliable catch guy. He doesn't really drop a ton of things. I think he tracks the ball well with the ball in his hands, whether it's on a screen or a little curl or things like that. He gets the ball, he turns upfield, he's hard to bring down. He can play a little bit from the slot as well. He's got really big hands. And I think he does a good job of just when he gets that open space to operate with, when he's not getting put hands on, he does a good job of tracking the football, making plays out there. And I think he runs a good enough route tree to where I feel pretty confident taking him somewhere inside the top 75. So really fun prospect. I think he does a lot of things very well. He's an Ole Miss guy, but you also have to account for the fact he's played at a couple other schools too. So take that as you will, but tons of upside. I think he could be your wide receiver 3 early and develop into like a second option. All right, moving over to my next player, we're talking Caleb Alarms Orr. Caleb is one of these prospects where it's like when he's wrong, it's kind of ugly, but when he's right, it's really, really pretty. 6'2", 234 pounds. Trying to find his 40. He ran a 4.47 at the combine with a 40-inch vert. Has 31.5-inch arms with 9-inch hands. So we're talking about a pretty well put together linebacker. 6'2", 234. I mean, maybe you'd like him to be more like 6'3", 240, 245. But 6'2", 234, I think is, serviceable. He's one of these players where it's like, I don't think he's a fit for every single team. I do think there's like very specific teams he's going to have to go down and play with. If you're a team that wants to have these attacking linebackers, these linebackers who get downhill, play physical against the run, and don't have to go like sideline to sideline or don't have to process too much, then he's a real football player that could be an impact player immediately on your team. Because the best plays of Caleb Alarms Orr is when he's getting downhill, when his mind is perfect, when everything is lining up perfectly for him, and he can just fill gaps, hit rushing lanes, pick on receivers, things like that. Like when it's perfect like that, he does a good job. The issue for him is really when offenses kind of get to, play action, RPOs, more complex stuff. That's kind of where you see like it takes him a lot longer than what you'd like for him to really diagnose what's actually happening out there on the field. And the thing about that's so important about that is if it takes, there's 11 guys on defense, right? I get it. There's 10 other guys that can make up for your mistake. But sometimes on certain plays, it just comes down to doing your job. And if you're a tick slow on doing something, that, you not doing your job could result in a massive chunk play because you're out of position, because you're not so where you're supposed to be, or maybe you're supposed to be somewhere else and now an offensive lineman gets freed up to now hit the second level or hit the third level, and because you're out of position, again, that smaller play that would have been contained had you been there, now you're way out of position and now that's a huge chunk play. And that happens a couple of times on tape with him. And sometimes TCU got away with it. And of course, that'll happen in football. But In the NFL, these teams, they do a much better job of executing, and I would just kind of worry about that a little bit. But I do like him a lot on like special teams early on, kind of developing into being more of that full-time linebacker. He could maybe stack on a little bit of weight. I do think in coverage, he's solid enough. I think in zone, I think he can hold his own. I think one-on-one in man coverage, he's got the athleticism to keep up with you and things like that. So there's a player here in Caleb Alarm's or where it's just like if he can get that mental timing, processing, instincts, and IQ, and again put him in the right situation, I think letting him learn in like a New York or Tennessee. Robert Saleh's in Tennessee now. Letting him learn from like a Robert Saleh who has taken these sort of undersized athletic linebackers and turned them into superstars. I think it'd be perfect for him. He has to go to the right system with the right coaching who's going to understand that they don't need to throw him out there on 3 downs right now. Let him just hit it against the run right now, do a little bit in pass coverage as well, and develop him over time to see if he can get those instincts and that feel for more complex RPOs, play actions, fakes, gadgety plays, things like that. And I think he can become a football player that honestly outplays his potential draft selection, because I think it's probably going to be somewhere after the top 100. All right, moving over to our number 6 player, it is going to be Emil Wagner, the offensive tackle for Notre Dame. I want to kind of set things properly with Emil Wagner. I don't think Emil Wagner is going to be an instant starter for a team within 2 to 3 years. I do think he's somebody that has to sit around for a while and kind of develop, and we'll see if maybe he starts to get some actual time on the field at some point. Best case scenario early on, he kind of is your like swing tackle that somebody, when one of your tackles is down, you plug in Emil Wagner, he's good to go. Emil brings a lot to the table, 6'6", 306 pounds with a massive 34.5-inch arms, a wingspan of 83 3/8, which is 91 percentile. He's a really solid athletic football player who has a lot of kinks and things that he just has to work on. He's not very nuanced, but I think he does a really good job of using his hands in pass protection. Again, he's got these really long arms, and you can tell that he knows he has long arms, right? I think footwork needs to be cleaned up. I think he has the athleticism to get to a point where he's really quick and explosive out of his stance. But his footwork and technique and marrying his legs with his hands and things like that can get him in trouble. As a run blocker, like he doesn't have the mass nor the power to push people around. He's just more of kind of like a wall him off type of guy. He's got to keep his pad level down. Again, he's just got to get more comfortable with, putting his pads lower and getting into that really explosive stance. Hasn't quite gotten that down yet. But again, we're talking about somebody that can get out in space and be a lead blocker on screens, using him a little bit in zone concepts where you can use that athletic ability. And it's a bit more okay that he's a little bit more upright because he's trying to get him in zone where he's trying to pass the edge rusher off to the guard or just trying to hold off, and the tackle or the tight end can help you a little bit. So again, he's a swing tackle type of prospect, but that is a valuable thing in the NFL. And if you can find that in round 4, 5, or 6, in Emil Wagner, who I think has a ton of upside to continue to grow and develop because he has this really nice frame that I think could pack on a little bit more weight to go along with really good hands, and he uses his hands very well in pass protection. If you can get a good offensive line coach that can marry the hands and how he uses them with the lower half of his body, add on more weight, get him a bit more physical and nasty in the run game, I mean, it's a lot to work on. I know I'm kind of going down a laundry list, but if he can kind of get that stuff going for him, you're talking about a guy that, again, can be a swing tackle and potentially a serviceable starter if your actual starter goes down. And again, once you get on the field for the first time, hey, you got a chance. Prove yourself now. Let's see if you can actually win the job. So, yeah, man, I think there's a lot of talent here in Emil Wagner that has just not even been tapped into, but you got to have some patience with him. All right, moving over to number 5, I got Lewis Moore, the safety out of Indiana. There's a couple of different players that are kind of in the fold of Lewis Moore. As a Texas fan, I consider putting Michael Taft here for this role because these guys, they're, I guess I'll kind of throw Michael Taft in this one as well, but we'll focus on Lewis Moore because that's what I listed off here. Undersized, not the greatest athletes out there on the field, but just high IQ, highly instinctual, never in the wrong place, just making the right plays at the right times. But their athletic and physical profiles are not elite. And frankly, they're not good. Like, not even elite. They're just not good. Like Lewis Moore, I'm pretty sure ran a 4.6. Here, let me check. Yeah, he's 5'11", 191 pounds, 5'11", 22 percentile, 191, 13 percentile, 29.5-inch arms, that's 10 percentile. 4.63 at his pro day, that's 27th percentile, 34 on the vert, 29th percentile. And yeah, I mean, we're just talking about like an undersized, poorly lengthed, not great athlete. But the instincts just really stand out, man. And Again, as a third level defender, yes, you have to be a elite athlete to be a high end football player in this league. But I feel like behind your high end starters, right? If you have a Baker, a prime Minka Fitzpatrick, if you have a Caleb Downs in this year's draft class, if you have that really good starting safety who plays deep specifically, and you're really just starting to look for who can be that backup option where if our starter goes down, we feel more than comfortable putting in the backup, even if he's not the best athlete, or even if he's not the same difference maker as a starter, he can get in there and get the job done. And that's where Lewis Moore fits in. I think Lewis Moore is somebody that can make a 53-man roster, even despite the fact that he doesn't have anything physically nor athletically to look at. But it's funny. It feels like you can just say the exact same thing about all these Indiana football players because it's kind of the same conversation. He was so well coached, so smart, high IQ, just always in the right place at the right time, never really made mistakes, physical run defender, wasn't afraid to get nasty, doesn't miss tackles a whole bunch. It's just he's not a high-end prospect because he's not a high-end athlete. And, take that as you will. It's the same conversation with Michael Taft. Michael Taft, undersized, not a great athlete, but highly instinctual, really good awareness. I think Lewis Moore is a little bit better of a run defender than Michael Taft because, Taft, while a good tackler, could get trucked. I mean, he got trucked a couple of times. Just watch the freaking Arkansas game. He got cooked by Mike Washington a few times. Lewis Moore, I think, is a bit more physical against the run, but yeah, he's just somebody where it's like, you probably won't start for us because teams will exploit your physical and athletic limitations. But again, as a safety, third option, that backup kind of, we talked about Emil Wagner being sort of that swing tackle for the offensive line. Lewis Moore can kind of be the swing safety out there, if you get my point. So yeah, he's just a really solid football player that also had a lot of great production for Indiana and for multiple schools. So yeah, man, really smart football player that it's just like, if you were like 6'2", 200 pounds and could run a 4.4, probably talking about a top 50 player, but he just doesn't have it, so it's unfortunate for him. Next up at number 4, we're talking Le'Veon Moss, the Texas A&M running back. There's a really good football player inside of Le'Veon Moss. It just hasn't quite all yet come together. Really good size, 5'11", 203 pounds. Ran a 4.58 at his pro day, which isn't great, but it's good enough. You look at like the physical and athletic profile. It's not special, but I think it all kind of qualifies as sort of like good enough, right? But I do think he has some explosive elements to his game. He's a very patient running back, though. When he gets the ball, he's not afraid to take his time, kind of stutter his feet, wait for the blockers to set up and actually, make plays and do things like that. Once those offensive linemen get into their spots where they need to be, he hits the hole with that little burst, that explosiveness, and he can pick up extra yards by turning his feet. You see him play in both zone schemes. You see him play in more gap schemes. I think he's just a very versatile player. I actually think as a pass protector, I've seen reps out there of him where I'm like, okay, he can hold his own out there, right? He's got a good enough frame and size, and he's got good enough arm length and technique that it's like he's not afraid to go out there and pick up blitzers or chip an edge or things like that. Like, he's not afraid to do that sort of stuff. But he's had a lot of injuries, right? Torn ACL and an MCL in 2024, then had an ankle injury in 2025, and he didn't quite get to see the full repertoire of Le'Veon Moss. He's not really used a ton as a receiving threat either. Granted, A&M, they didn't really have a quarterback that checks down a ton, especially two running backs. Really for Marcel Reed, it's like, okay, if my options aren't there, I'm taking off. And that's kind of what makes him a boom or bust type of player. But yeah, he is a very intriguing prospect, not because he's a high-end prospect, but it's just like, okay, if I have a really good athletic number one, or maybe I have a really big bruisier style number one, and I'm kind of looking for more of that patient runner, somebody who, when a hole kind of opens up, he hits it with the intention. He's somebody who I think is going to outplay his stock. If he can stay healthy, of course, because while he's not a great athlete necessarily, I think he has plenty of game in his body, and that patience, that IQ, setting up blockers, looking at linebackers, the reps I've seen of him actually being able to block and pass protection. There's a running back here where it's like, okay, I think he can make it in this league. I think he can be somebody who actually gets real reps out there on the field. And so keep an eye on Le'Veon Moss. He's somebody who I think very highly of. I haven't done my top 10 running backs in a while. I think he would be inside my top 10 running backs for sure. And it's not a great running back class, so I feel like if you take a swing on Le'Veon Moss, it could end up being kind of worth your time because I think he's really good. All right, moving over to number 3, I got VJ Payne, the safety slash corner for Kansas State. Yeah, VJ Payne, 6'3", 206 pounds, ran a 4.40 at the combine, 33 and 3/4 arms, 80 and 6/8 wingspan, 35-inch vert, and a 10-yard split of 152. We're talking about the polar opposite of Lewis Moore, right? Lewis Moore, undersized and not a great athlete. You look at VJ Payne, well sized. I mean, honestly, even above well sized, 6'3", 206 pounds. Maybe could put on a little bit more muscle, but he's a little bit thinner, but still really good length and size, great arm length, unbelievable athlete. The difference between Lewis Moore and VJ Payne is the instincts, right? It's like if you can just merge Lewis Moore with VJ Payne, we're talking about like genuinely an awesome prospect, like an awesome prospect. Because while VJ has this athletic and physical profile that is unbelievable, he just isn't comfortable playing in space right now, which is weird. I kind of feel like they should have used him a little bit more as a slot corner, because they used him a lot inside the box, a little bit deep, which is great at the end of the day. But I actually like him a little bit more when he's able to play with that size, with that length, in like press man coverage or putting hands on receivers. And, you know, zone coverage at some point does become man. And that's when you really start to see VJ Payne really look comfortable out there, when he gets that receiver in his vicinity and he's able to put hands on them, get physical a little bit with them, and just keep up with his pure athletic ability. I just don't understand why they didn't use him a bit more like that. It's not to say he wasn't great as a safety, and I think that also adds to his profile as well. The fact that I think he's probably a better corner at the NFL level, because then it's just like you're playing just off pure instincts instead of having to wait for things to set up. And, you know, he can just play off of his athletic ability, that physical profile. And again, that versatility will also help him, because like, okay, he can play safety in a pinch, he could play in the box, he could play nickel, he could play outside. There's a lot to like about that, right? I don't love his ability to tackle. He tackles very upright. Players can get to his chest. They can kind of, you know, push him over a little bit, and he's not physical enough. And I do think that is kind of an issue for him. He needs to play a bit more physical, right? Put the hands on people. Again, there's reps out there where it's like, okay, he's getting his hands on you. He's pushing you off your spot. You know, he's playing handsy. He's doing the right things, right? There's other reps where it's like he's kind of just not playing as physical as what I like here. So, you know, I don't know. He's an interesting safety prospect where it's like the coverage is kind of inconsistent right now. I like him as a corner, though, because I think as a corner, you're just playing off pure instincts at that point. You're playing off, you're not thinking as much. You're just going, right? You have the size, the athleticism to keep up with anybody. And we've seen when you are in those man-on-man situations, you can hold up, right? And then you throw on that extra layer of versatility for this guy. You know, especially when he's matched up against tight ends. Like, I think in a slot situation, I think he'd be great, right? Elite versatility, though, we're talking about somebody that I think is going to go a lot higher than what consensus has him as, because he just has it. He has a lot to his game to like. He's just got to get kind of the instincts and awareness and feel for, you know, off coverage a little bit better. But overall, fun prospect to kind of keep an eye on. And I think he could be really good in the NFL. Just got to put him in the right situation. All right, moving over to number 2, we got Jay-Sean Barham, the Michigan outside linebacker. So Jay-Sean actually was a like inside linebacker for several years there, until this year they basically put him full-time off the edge, which was the best thing for him to do for his career, because, well, he was an okay inside linebacker. He wasn't special by no means. And, you know, if we were just looking at him as a pure inside linebacker in this class, I don't think he'd be inside our top 10. In fact, I'd probably still be projecting him as an edge rusher. So this year they moved him a bit more over to that edge spot, and it really did wonders for him. Not because he was like an elite like statistics guy. I think on the year he only ended up with like 4 sacks, but you know, you could see the pass rush win rate starting to go up a little bit. Like he has some reps on film where it's like, okay, yeah, he's got it a little bit. 6'4", 240 pounds, 10 1/4 inch hands, 78 6/8 wingspan, 4'6", 440, and a vertical of 33 inches. I would say he's a good athlete. I think he's explosive off the line of scrimmage. I think he has a physical profile where it's like, can he stack on about 10 more pounds to get to typically like your 250 range? Get a little bit stronger at holding the edge and things like that. I think he's a really good run defender, despite the fact that he's only 240 pounds, right? He's got disciplined eyes. I think he has the technique. He gets low pad level. And I think that time as an inside linebacker honestly helped him a lot out there, because he feels the game very well in terms of run defense. As a pass rusher, right? He does play with that athletic ability, right? He's got decent enough hands. He can kind of, there's a couple little moves to get to, good bend around the corner. You see some reps on film where it's like, okay, this guy really has something as a pass rusher. The whole thing is he just needs a lot more time in the position to put on the proper muscle, to put on the proper weight, to add more just pass rush development in general, like having a plan every single time he's out there. Because there's reps out there where it's like you could tell he's got zero plan on what he's going to do on that rep. He needs to have more of a plan, needs to be more disciplined in his rushing lanes. Having more anticipation for the snaps. He had a lot of penalties this year on false starts. He just needs more time in the position. And he's somebody where it's like you take him. I've seen him as early as like round 3. I like him somewhere around 4 or 5. You can get him in that range, somewhere towards the 100 range. You can get him around then. And you're talking about somebody who probably doesn't start for you right away, probably not even a ton in year 2, but will get some rotational snaps and you'll see him grow and develop. I think by year 3, you're kind of seeing the full, investment of Jayshon Barham potentially paying off because he's got a lot to like about his game, man. Physical mentality, really smart football player, decent enough run defender as it is right now. And it's like, okay, right now he's kind of more of a flashy pass rusher where he'll give you flashes of what he can do. Give him a few years to see if he can start to put things together, have better hand usage, marry his legs with his hands, get that bend more consistent and stuff like that. And you're talking about somebody who can be very, very good. It just comes down to putting it all together, though. But our last hidden gem of this video is going to be Ted Hurst, the wide receiver out of Georgia State. You heard that right, man. A Georgia State player making the video. 6'4", 206 pounds, running 4.42 at the combine, 32 5/8 inch arms, 9 3/4 inch hands, 36.5 inch verts. Really good athlete, really good size. I think when he gets a free release, kind of like Deshaun Stribling a little bit. In fact, they're kind of similar in some ways now I kind of think about it. When he gets a free release, I mean, he is beautiful, man. When he gets that just ability to just get vertical, use those long legs to his advantage and, make plays down the field, that's really where you start to see his best production, honestly, come out there. Really good red zone target. He's got the length, the size. He can sort of rebound kind of like a basketball player at times. There's also times where he just out jumps people. He out catch radiuses people. Really good stuff there, right? With the ball in his hands, he's really, really solid as well. Like he can make guys miss. Again, kind of like Stribling. I like him a ton when he gets that free release, when he can just use that size and length to his advantage. Not much of like a super contested catch guy, but he can win a couple here and there. Just really, what you want him to do is use that massive catch radius to his advantage. His issue is kind of when people can get their hands on him a little bit and really just, again, kind of like Stribling a little bit, play more physical with them. You can start to see some things kind of drop off a little bit, right? He can get pushed off his routes. Not much of a contested catch guy because he is kind of a leaner built football player. He's 6'4", 206 pounds, right? Which is a good frame, but he's kind of like a leaner guy, not much of a dense build. I like to see him get up to like 212, 213, so he can be a little bit more thicker, I guess would be the right way to put it. But again, when he gets those free releases, which he'll get at the NFL level, he can be really good. Not much of he doesn't run block a ton at Georgia State. A lot of the offense went through him, so that's going to be something that will have to be developed in the pros, but tons of upside, man. Just a huge swing, kind of like Stribling. Stribling's probably a little bit more of a safer prospect. Hurst is kind of like, hey, man, he had great production, had a great year. He's got the size, the length, the profile, everything you like. The explosiveness is there. When he gets off the line in a free release, you can see his route abilities, his ability to run routes properly, things like that. A lot to like about him, right? Just got to clean up handling physicality, and he can be really good. So you guys let me know in the comment section below what is some hidden gems I missed in this video. I also did a second hidden gems video like a couple weeks ago, so check that one out if you want to see a couple more hidden gems. Hit the like and subscribe button, and have a good day. Deuce.